Hi Libra, it's Jenny here, ready with your March Tarot horoscope. So we're just going to be pulling a single card for the month of March to end out the energetic year. So the beginning of March up until the equinox is the last chunk of Pisces season, and Pisces is the last sign in the zodiac. So it is ending up that year, and then starting in at the equinox, we're going to have Aries season. Which is going to be starting out the new year. So there's going to be a lot of sort of tones of ending of cycles and beginning of new ones. It's kind of like a bit of a New Year's vibe, but in a different way than the calendar year. So just gonna keep shuffling and see what comes up. That one looks good. Okay, what do we have for you, Libra? Okay, we have the World, which is the last card in the major arcana. So here we have this, it's a big kind of red tone background here. We have this sort of big face. You could be angry, you could be crying, sort of behind bars in this sort of window here. And then attached to him by chains are these three nude women, and the chains are kind of around their neck, and they're standing there ahead of him. So this is the card, and we're going to see what it has to say for you today. Okay, the World. Resolution of contradictions. This card is linked to the image of the chariot. The frame at the center of the composition is reused as a motif indicative of a kind of cage. Furthermore, the World also refers to the content of the Devil card, the vampire or boogeyman, and the prodigal son as symbols of the taboos that can be rediscovered in the big black being, which is imprisoned and seems to be weeping. This card seems to convey the pessimistic message that evil always puts the righteous in chains and will eventually triumph. But an alternative reading is possible. The three graces, and with them faith, love, and hope, will help the world to advance. On long leashes they pull up this dark and fiery creature from the depths of the earth to emerge at the surface. Humanity has not just ascended from heaven to earth like angels, but is also a product of a long evolution. On every level of our development as humans, we are called upon to deal with our heritage. Although we never cease to discover dangerous traits in ourselves and others, we also constantly discover new, hitherto unknown areas of growth. In a positive sense, the ropes or chains represent our dependency on time and space. Our individual existence is bound to the existence of all others. We have inherited the earth from our parents and merely borrowed it from our children. We should not jeopardize this inheritance. Practical advice. It is your task and your strength to step forward and show yourself. The way you live in this world determines what the world is in a reciprocal relationship. Use your time on earth wisely and enjoy your stay here. Okay, so this card is, it feels like the card, one of the major cards of responsibility in a but like in a cyclical way of the responsibility that we have to our community, to our ancestors, and to the world, but also in the way that we are connected to all other beings and the responsibilities that they have to us as well. So it's this big kind of loop where none of us are working in isolation, which amplifies all of our actions, both the negative actions and the positive actions. So there's this responsibility to, as it says at the end, to use your time on earth wisely, that you're here and you do impact others. You do impact the way a single chain link is. It's certainly not the whole chain, and a single link doesn't really do much on its own. But if you break a link, or if you have a link that's weak in the long chain, that is going to affect the integrity of the whole system. So it can be really, really easy, especially in a very tumultuous world, and especially in one where we are now at a stage of technology and connectedness where we can hear about everything that is happening all the time, real time, and it can feel really intense to feel like you are just one little speck in the cosmos, and how can what you do matters. So that can kind of go either way, where you can then think, well, I can do whatever I want because it's not going to make a difference, or there can be this apathy of what's the point of doing anything because nothing really matters and I can't impact anything. So this is it's kind of trying to hold against that in terms of really acknowledging that there is a tension, yes, that essentially this is the World card. So one of the tensions of the world and our existence here is this pull of these dark and grieving forces of, can be anger or destruction or apathy and grief, that they are chained to us. They are chained to these goodwill powers, these hope, these faith, these kind of glowing virtues. They are chained to it. And so yes, you can say that the tension is holding these beings back from being as expansive as they could. But also that chain goes the other way, where these beings can pull and use their energy to pull and connect with this kind of being in the box there. So there is this relationship to both, where that this is the tension of, I mean, I don't necessarily want to call it the forces of good and evil and that kind of tension, because that's just not a binary system that I hold to. But it's this way in which we are, on an individual level and on a global level, that our successes are connected to our grievances as well. That one of the ways in which we rise to our highest selves and we find our strengths and our talents to commit to the world is through our times of trials and tribulations. The things that try to break us are the things that often shape us. And so we are not, our strengths and our talents and our positive commitment to the world is not often something that can really be fully realized without that period of shadow or heaviness or grief, whether it's pain that you are choosing to turn and not inflict on others and rising above that, or whether it's having experienced a sadness and choosing instead to spread joy. There's all kinds of different things, these tests that can happen. And so there is this then responsibility in that our positive elements have and our sides of light. It's not quite gratitude, that you don't have to thank the things that are all of these awful experiences that we have of being like, oh, like, you know, I couldn't be who I was without you. And yet at the same time, it is a bit of a paradox to hold that even just acknowledgement of it is true that these forces exist together and cannot be separated from each other completely. The same way that this being, this grievance of the dark things that come from us is often just that infantile stage of trying to figure out how it is we can be good in the world, and coming up with blocks or not being skilled, or the same way that a young child has to kind of grow and figure out that, like, no, you can't just hit your sister that way, but it is fine that you're having an emotional reaction, that a lot of the time this being doesn't really look malicious. Like, he in and of himself seems a little bit trapped in this kind of, in this cage, in this weeping sort of situation, that he also is needing to be connected to some sort of hope and not be stuck in this one sort of stasis time. There's this feeling, these links are also these links of time, that we are that we are connected to our ancestors, connected to those that come after us. So altogether, there's just a lot going on in this card. I'm going to try to hone out of the essence of the card for a minute and pull it into the astrology of March. So March is starting, this first 2/3 of March is Pisces season. And Pisces, one of the elements of Pisces is this big ocean, this dissolving ocean, where this big expanse where we are kind of all floating in the sea of the cosmos. We're all floating in the same ocean together. And the barriers and limitations and kind of arbitrary categories that we put between each other have all sort of fallen away and dissolved when we acknowledge we're all in the same ocean. We're all in the world together. And any sort of ideas we have of separation are really just an illusion that we've created. So there's this, in Pisces, this acceptance of being in the world and deeply connected to everyone around us, certainly emotionally, energetically, and also in these links of responsibility, that the actions that I take do affect those and other people that are in this ocean as well. How the waves that we create in this ocean will ripple to other people, and how healthy and clean this ocean is going to affect other people. So it's this, Pisces is in a way that is somewhat like kind of relevant to Capricorn energy, which has this sort of integrity, like very strong integrity and responsibility to others, but in a more structured way. This is more this whole, I'm responsible to you because I am not different than you. I am not separate from you. So in me being responsible to you is really just an extension of me being responsible to myself. So that is this sort of beginning of this season, is this feeling of really feeling connected to the world in a way that is also going to feel really tough in a lot of ways. Like, it's kind of like being in this, like, there's going to be a lot of these intense emotions. Pisces has a time of intense emotion and empathy as well. And right now there's a lot that's happening in the world. So it might feel like you don't really want to connect into the emotions and the energies of the collective right now, because there's a lot happening. We're still sorting our way out of a pandemic. There's a lot of geopolitical nonsense going on. There's just a lot of frustration and agitation. And so, like, the desire to put those walls up and feel those boundaries is really strong. But right now, the energy of Pisces season at the beginning of March is saying, no, sit with it. And that's going to probably have a lot of emotion. If there is extreme grief, if there is like panic and anxiety, if there is feelings of apathy and that just overwhelm, that's okay. Trying to like hold it off or trying to hide from it is not going to be super conducive. Certainly you want to be grounded and supported and not let yourself be overwhelmed. Like, you want to be swimming in the ocean without drowning and swallowing the ocean, but you're also still in the ocean. So this first part of March for you, especially with you, Libra, being a sign that's usually quite connected to the other and very aware of the feelings of others, and specifically like this time might be pretty like intense for you in terms of being sensitive to injustice that may be happening to other people and things not being fair, things not feeling in balance or harmony. That this time might be like a very emotional or sensitive or agitating time. Like, your emotions might not be like tearing sadness. It might be agitation or like aggression or anger of why can't we all just like get along, especially if you are connected to this feeling of being one with your neighbor and being one with the whole collective, and seeing other people not behaving that way. So just be patient with yourself. Give yourself the like breaks and time that you need, but do try to allow these feelings to come through and move through you and let them flow instead of trying to block them out or hide from them. So that's going to be the sort of first 2/3 of March, is that feeling and in a way purging of those emotions of being connected to the collective and the world. And then when we hit equinox, which is in and of itself a time of balance of the light in the light and dark in the world. So that is going to give you like a little injection for your Libra energy of that time of balance. That then we're going to get Aries season, which is going to be a significantly more action oriented of an energy. That spark, Aries is the spark of new life. It's the new idea, new creation, and it's very connected with action and willpower and being able to move forward in a way that is going to feel really satisfying after the sort of like nebulous feeling of Pisces season. So that is going to be more of this sense of, okay, like after we felt into the potential pain and intensity and also different joys and hopes that the collective can feel, we then want to be able to pull forward and continue our steps through time in a motion that is hopefully bringing this sort of, devil boogeyman out of its dark cage into the light that these ones are basking in. Like, we do see there's a big light out here. We can't see the source of the light that's casting shadow here, but these three are in a period of light, in a position of light that we want to bring this kind of monster with them. So Aries season is going to be this opportunity to kind of connect now to these three graces or these virtues and lean into the chain a little and pull forward and think, okay, like, trying to get yourself orientated in this time before equinox to say, like, okay, really connected to the emotions of the collective, and then now we want to pull into where we want to go, bringing things up into the light. So the world is big and the feelings of the world are massive, and so are the problems. You don't need to, of course, tackle all of the globe's issues just because you felt into the collective. It's feeling into the whole thing and then being your one little link and pulling and just doing what it is you choose to do. So you might be a person of grand ambition and a wide circle of influence, and so this may be a really great time for you to really stand up and use your platform and push forward where we want to go. Or you might not be in that kind of large degree of energy, and you might just be more affecting your individual circles and your friend groups, your workplace, your home life, your own, like, just your own abilities. You don't even have to be working with the entire energies of the world and trying to pull forward. forward, because you are in the world and of the world, just affecting you has that ripple. So you don't have to look outward necessarily to say, oh, I need to fix all the pains of the world. You can look in of yourself and say, my pains are also the pains of the world, because I am here and I am important and I'm part of this cycle. So if all you need to do is just hunker down and work on your own little boogeyman and pull yourself forward into the light, that is absolutely wonderful, perfect, and an absolutely ideal thing to be doing. So in whichever kind of amplitude you're working on, no one is better than the other. And in fact, it's going to be really hard to work out there with the energies of other people if you haven't also are shouldering your own load and pulling yourself into the light there, while still acknowledging that it's not about eradicating pain, because that is a part of the life cycle of our experience of joy and life as well, but just always moving forward. So I think that's what I'm going to leave you with here. So it's this card of responsibility, this reciprocity as well, and just this reminder that this first part of the month might be a lot of feels, and then this after equinox, it's going to feel like we're getting a little bit more forward momentum, with the emotional importance that we've learned from the beginning of the month, and then we can move it forward into a bit more action when things get a little bit more heated up in Aries. So I'm just going to wish you all the best. So this is the end of the tarot horoscope, but I'm going to let you know that on equinox and beginning of Aries season, I'm going to be hosting my first tarot astrology workshop for the zodiacal season itself. This is going to be a pay what you can forecast, and it's also going to be for the collective. So it's not going to be individual to your sign. It's going to be relevant to you and relevant to everybody. So that's going to be on the March equinox, and pay what you can hosted on this YouTube channel here. So I hope to see you then. Best of luck this March, Libra.